All right, welcome everybody to America's Mom and a Mister is joining me today. Of course, we've got a lot of information for you guys today. I want to welcome you, and this will be shown live, obviously, on X America News over on X. So make sure everybody who's watching now, go follow, go follow. We're showing incredible news stories all the time, things you're not getting on MSM. X America News on X. Make sure you go check it out. I am your host officially, Sherronna, and of course, the Mister is joining me today because there's lots of crazy stuff going on. There are conservative battles. RFK has backpedaled massively on the MMR, and then President Trump is getting rid of the capital gains tax. What does that actually mean? And should this start a battle, a war of the classes? I think it's really, really fascinating. It's weird to have people in office, like President Trump anyway, who would like to see everybody get rich. I think that is his ultimate goal. If you know what you're doing, if you know how to play in the game, then you absolutely, every single American in this country can figure out how to capitalize on what President Trump is doing right now. It is possible, guys. It's possible, and so much more. So, welcome. Welcome, welcome. And I want to encourage everybody also hit the like, the share, and the follow. If you love what we're sharing, if you love what we're doing, then you have to spread the word. Remember, we've been taken down by big tech many times. And so we rely on you guys to share, share, share. So please hit that share button.
We're talking about, I just want to mention, it's not just
Yeah.
capital gains tax. We're talking about ending the federal income tax. And he's been sporting that idea for a little while now. And in his speech that we'll play here in a little bit, but he talks about going back to the 1800s and what made America great initially. And what got in the way of that? What stopped America from being great? The Fed. The Fed, just the Fed in general. I mean, that's what has gotten, and people don't realize there was a time that America existed and thrived without the huge three-letter agencies, without the Department of Education, without having any federal income tax. Now, how does that work? Well, everything goes back to local, doesn't it? Everything goes back to states. There was a time where every state was sovereign. And even if the president of the United States himself gave authority for someone to say, travel through another person's land to transport a prisoner, that landowner could give him the big middle finger and say, screw you. It's my land. This is my property. I don't care if it's the president of the United States or any king or anybody else in any position of so-called authority. I have sovereign rights over my life, my property, my family, my land. Now, what people are afraid of is that is actual freedom. And we've been programmed so hard by the deep state operatives, by media, by government, by entertainment. We've been programmed so hard that we think being free is actually being enslaved. It's all inverted. So you can't go through an airport without getting molested and without getting your face scanned and without getting put into some huge federal system. That's not freedom. You can't drive down the road without being, afeared of getting a ticket for just transporting your vehicle from one point to another. That's not freedom. You can't walk across the street without fear of getting a jaywalking ticket, all this stuff. There was a time, and by the way, tickets are just taxes. That's all they are. Anytime you get a ticket by a public official, it's just another tax. But there was a time when these things didn't exist. And I really believe, and listen, I've got big questions about what DJT is doing, especially with this Netanyahu character and all that other stuff. But there are some things that he's doing that make me think that he's really trying to take us back to like pre-1871 type of living and pre-federal government in many ways. There was a time where there was a military and there was the commander-in-chief. And then we had temporary part-time people that would serve to go represent the people's needs and the people's desires on a larger scale. And then they'd get in there for 2 years and they would get the heck out and they'd get back to their own business and actually making a difference. This whole system that's been set up, when you can cut 15 or 20 or 25% of a federal department, and within that, those cuts means cutting 40,000 employees. That is a department that is completely out of control. Give me a serious break here. So there's too much government. Bad.
Let's take a listen to what President Trump had to say, what you're talking about with Trump abolishing the income tax.
He's going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever
Here it is.
before. You know, the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States,
Yes.
relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary, because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. As we had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense? Huh?
I like it.
Wow. I'll tell
it.
you what, there's some drops going on here. I'm waiting, like I'm on the edge of my seat, waiting for him or others in this administration to bring up, why are they talking about 1870 or 1871? I wonder. The 1870s in general, could it have something to do with what's called the 14th Amendment? Interesting, which the 14th Amendment really is what gave this huge fattening of our federal government. The 14th Amendment is why we have the FBI, the CIA, the IRS. I mean, when you really break it down, that's simplifying it. But you look at the 14th Amendment, what it did, it federalized you and me. It gave us a number instead of a name. It gave us a stamp instead of freedom that we should have. So now we're actual property of what's called the United States Corporation, or the United States Inc. So I believe, without coming out and just saying it, that Trump is dropping hints and dropping these ideas, so people will start to catch on and go, now, what is he saying here? I mean, it's pretty clear. You don't have to look too far, but I think he's trying to bring us back to a pre-14th Amendment, really a pre-federalized system. So we're not numbers anymore. We're trying, but he can't do that for us. Like, we have to take our freedom back, right?
Right. I need to interject for a second.
Okay.
What does this mean to the regular person? The idea of rolling back the IRS has significant meaning to the regular person. And now, of course, not having capital gains tax is going to be a very powerful tool for the wealthy. They'll be able to take that money and reinvest it somewhere else, hire more employees, go on a vacation for all I care. Everybody, again, the old adage of all ships rise is going to be reflected in this economic policy. Here's the thing for the regular everyday person. Do you guys realize how many investigations are started, how much weaponizing of the government is started by you not filing your taxes correctly? The auditing of the IRS on your finances is used constantly as a loophole to come after you, whether it's for political motivation or they don't like the business that you're in. You think of people who opened up cannabis businesses across the country, they were targeted based off of their IRS status. And this really has become a weapon for the government to use. It's a little bit like the old blanket statement when they serve a warrant to you of, attempting to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Who the heck knows what that even means? It's a financial crime, apparently. You're conspiring to do something financially that would benefit you that the government has decided you can't do. And they use that as a blanket clause to get into literally everything you own. Well, the IRS does the same thing with capital gains and obviously with the Internal Revenue Service. No matter what you're meddling in, if you're a business owner that has taken up offense or has been offended upon by the government, this is one of the avenues they use to get you. And I think in America, especially here in Texas, it really is the government is supposed to be serving and working for you and finding ways to support your constitutional protections, not finding ways to get you. And so I just want to read this straight off the press. Ultimately, This stimulation, or excuse me, this would stimulate investment, promote economic growth, encourage businesses to reinvest their profits, ultimately benefiting the American economy. Because again, remember, in tandem with the cutting of the capital gains tax, there is massive incentivizing for American production first. Okay, to support American workers, American producers, and American production. By removing this tax, which is levied on the profits from the sale of assets like your stocks, your bonds, your real estate, and Neil and I have talked about this. Why does the government get any of the money that we've so cleverly earned? Why? Why should the government get to have a profit off the sale of my house? Why? Why should the government get a profit off the sale of my product that I put together, that I created, that I went to the markets to sell and get out there to the public? I have all the sweat equity in the world in what I'm doing and what, what you guys are doing. The government literally does nothing. And yet they want a cut every single time. They are the biggest mafia ever. They're the biggest gangsters out there, is the government. So just think about that too for a minute. It also would provide greater incentives greater incentives. Where am I at here? One sec. Oh, greater incentives, of course, to expand your own personal wealth and to create jobs. I also want to point out it would take away one more excuse that people could use to not go out there and go get whatever it is they want in this American dream, in this American opportunity. Get government out of the way and move some more obstacles out of the way for everybody so you can keep more of the money that you've earned. You get to keep more of the money that you've invested. You get to keep more of the money that you strategically placed, whether it was property or other. For me comes back to this war that's been on the rich for the last 125 years. I think the war needs to be over, but what can happen in that meantime is those of us who are middle to lower class be invited in to learn and understand how to develop, how to create, and how to run businesses, because that economic gap is really huge. And you have people who don't think they can do anything more or don't have the skill set to do anything more than work fast food or something. I have seen in our own community here, you've seen it in Colorado, it's all over the place, but people who move to this country from foreign countries, okay? I don't know, it's unbelievable how they hit the floor running. They just go in, they know that the American dream is possible for them. They came here to get it, and they figure out how to get their licenses. They find a building, they get a bank loan. I mean, they hit the floor running, never having even done this before. So how much more should an American citizen born here be pursuing that same avenue? I find them to be extremely inspiring, people who come here from foreign countries to build and live their American dream. We need to be radically incentivized, I guess, as those who've lived here all of our lives. And this is the radical incentivization. You get to keep all your money. I think it's good.
Yeah, how radical is that? You get to
Mm-hmm.
actually keep what you earn.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been under this, I don't know, this sort of mind control thing for so long that our taxes are necessary to keep this country running.
Mm-hmm.
And then but there's a number of things that we're finding. Like, first of all, how much have we given to Ukraine? How much have we given to the Ukraine since this whole thing started a few years ago?
220 billion that we know.
220 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So they just take and how is that transferred over to Ukraine? Like how do they do that?
Well, 170 literally was cash. It literally was you guys, just like, do you remember when Obama actually took a plane load of cash and flew it over to Iran? Do you guys remember that whole debacle? Okay, literally they did the same thing with Ukraine. They literally loaded up cash and they did fly some of it over to Ukraine, literally in dollars. I've heard a lot of stories about that, actually. People who are holding on to that money. You may have even seen some of the pictures of that. Literally, it was, American dollars encased in plastic, and they literally flew it over. The other was obviously ammunition, guns, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that has been found. It was sold through the black market. Ukraine, Zelensky sold it through the black market, and that a lot of that weaponry has come back around and is actually being used on Americans through the cartel, also, who purchased some of that weaponry that we gave to Ukraine out of the goodness of our hearts, apparently. But they sold it for pennies on the dollar. Ukraine did. to nefarious countries and gangsters and cartel members. And it's all finding its way back around to us. It's very similar to Obama's strategy. If you guys recall, what was the program that he was selling our guns to the cartel members in Mexico? And our good friend Victor Avila, his partner on the border, was shot and killed by these same guns that Obama sold to the cartel members, who began using them against our own law enforcement. So it's a very similar situation. The strategy hasn't changed to dismantle and to really disrupt America and, kill as many people, have all these little cells all over the country to make people afraid to do anything. That's exactly what they were doing.
Think
That's
about
exactly what they did.
how much money. So apparently we just have like suitcases full
Mhm.
in airplanes of just cash that
Mhm.
is supposedly American tax dollars.
Yeah.
Supposedly. Where are they storing? Let's say it's 170 billion. So in 1 billion, we got to just remind ourselves, how many millions are in a billion? 1,000 millions
Yeah.
are in 1 billion. So
Mhm.
I've never had $1 million. I've never seen $1 million. I don't know what that actually looks like, but that's a lot of cash. If you had just $1 million in cash, now imagine having 1,000 millions. That
It's a
would
lot.
make $1 billion. And then imagine that times 170. So 170 billion
Well,
would be 170. It's 170,000 millions.
yeah.
And then I guess they're
Yeah.
but they're transporting it somehow to like literally. I don't think they're just
They wired it. They wired the money
okay.
also.
So they're
Yeah.
wiring some, but they're also giving cash. Is it
Yeah, they
like
flew it in.
where is that coming from? Like, is there a vault somewhere that just has endless amounts of taxpayer cash, or where's it coming from?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I think it'd be really interesting to go down that rabbit trail and try to figure that out. Like when they decide, let's give $100 billion to some country, is
Mhm.
there money? Are there just digits added to a bank account? Is there some sort of wire transfer? Another way, like you said, Obama was sending cash over, like literal cash, and apparently we've sent literal billions of dollars of
Yeah.
cash over
Yeah, that's
to
right.
Ukraine. But so
We
where's
also
that?
wait a minute, don't forget the Sam Friedman scandal. We also had a lot of crypto scandals. That was billions
Yeah,
of dollars also that was funneled through Sam Friedman. And that was just a big money laundering experiment. Poor Sam Friedman, he's sitting in prison right now. He'll be there for a long time. But all of the US senators, the US Congress members who participated in that, both on the left and the right, who got contributions to their campaigns through that taxpayer money that was supposed to be going to Ukraine to help bolster their crypto economy. So there's so many different ways that they laundered money. The reality is, at the end of the day, when it comes to most of this stuff that the government's been using, that quote is to help us or help foreign nations or whatever, it never reaches the people. That's what the US aid explosion has been about. It never reaches the people. Romania, we've been talking about that at length. $50 million of US aid money has already been given in the last 3 years. 10 million of that we know for a fact they promoted and boasted went to 18 different districts to quote support election security. Now, that's called election interference. That's being done by America through USAID, which is taxpayer dollars. So to your point, where the heck do they get all this paper, fiat currency that they distribute all around the world? I don't really know, but
but
I
we
do
got to
know a
bring
lot
this
of it
full circle.
is wiring.
We
It's a
got to
lot
bring
of
this
just
full
money.
circle.
Wait, the full circle is this. The same warrant that they serve on the American people, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, is exactly what the federal government has been
Of
doing with your
course.
taxpayer dollars
Yeah.
to all of these countries through their 527s, their NGOs, and even U.S. aid money.
And the full
There you go.
circle is it really comes down to this. If they can print up billions of dollars anytime they want, apparently no cap, if they can just come up with it. And they talk about printing dollars. I don't even know what that looks like. Apparently there are real printers where it costs more to print up the dollar than it is actually a dollar. It's crazy. But if they can print this money up and then send it wherever they want, and it's billions and billions and billions and billions of who knows how many dollars, and we're getting into the trillions now of all the stuff that they do with it. Why on earth are they concerned about me sending in my $5,000 that I supposedly owe them, that I owe the IRS. And that's what Trump is talking about. Because apparently we can function if every single American stopped paying taxes as of today. What would stop the government from continuing to do what they're doing? Congress passing the legislation to give all this money to other countries and to fund this and fund that, which Doge and Trump are uncovering. We're funding the HWO, we're funding the CDC, we're funding every country. We get tariffed like crazy. We don't tariff in response, all that kind of stuff. But supposedly, apparently, what we do is just print up money because there is no real money, because there is no gold backing, and
well, we don't know.
And
we
there's supposedly I guess not. Yep.
We haven't heard
and the petrodollar, apparently the petrodollar doesn't exist either. So there's not even oil backing. So if we're just printing up dollars and making up money out of thin air, then why on earth is the average American person paying taxes and worried about April 15th every year or whatever it is?
Oh.
Why? It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. So what Trump is saying is, instead of us living under the slave system and taxing Americans in order for the politicians to get wealthy and to stay wealthy and all that, why don't we tax and tariff other countries and not tax our citizens, so the citizens here can gain wealth by our amazing resources that we have here from other countries? And he's just flipping the script, and I hope it happens.
Well, let's move on, because I mean, the reality is, at this point, if you don't understand about the tariff situation, you don't want to know, you don't want to understand it, you don't want to figure it out. People have been screwing America, including our own elected officials, and quite frankly, Trump, he doesn't give two freaking cares right now about the protocols and all that nonsense. He is here to fight for the American people, and what he's about to do with capital gains is just going to be absolutely life-changing. It's going to be devastating to the deep state. And it's going to be devastating to those who've been, again, manipulating the system in order to secure political privilege, to have opportunities that you and I will never have. This is opening up the playing field, and America needs to understand that. But let's move on, because we actually have a tight show today. We can't go on as long as we want to. So, Fauci, let's take a listen. I want to get your take on this.
What is likely to happen, I don't know if it's going to be next year or 10 years or 15 or 20 years from now, is the emergence of another respiratory disease. It may be another coronavirus, because we know that coronavirus is really mostly in bats, have the capability of binding to receptors that are in humans. It could be another flu. We're dealing with H5N1 now, which is bird flu, which has taken the somewhat disturbing step of infecting mammals, namely cows and cats and other mammals, which means it's adapting itself more to a human. So my concern, Walter, is that whenever that happens, the next outbreak will be of a respiratory disease that's easily transmissible, that has a significant degree of morbidity.
And we are making this a little bit more dangerous with the cuts and our attitude towards science.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because our attitude towards science, it's your problem, people. You have just a negative attitude toward the science. And that's why there's going to be this horrible respiratory virus that spreads. I mean, tell me you don't know anything without telling me you don't know anything. All he's doing is spewing nonsense. What is he even saying? There could be a virus that comes in the next year or 10 years or maybe even 15 years that could be like a respiratory thing that actually might be dangerous. And, we've dealt with H1N1 and, boy, these things are really dangerous. And what is he even saying? And why is that guy allowed to talk anymore? I thought we put a frickin' muzzle on him. And I thought one of the things this new administration was going to do was put people like that in a place, dark hole somewhere, where they can never come out. And I think it's called like Tartaria, or let's see, what's the term for hell that's used in the New Testament? I thought that's where these people were supposed to go.
Guantanamo Bay is as close as we're going to get to in America. And I think he's trying to maintain some sort of relevance right now. The fact that universities are still having him, again, this goes back to what Trump is doing, and he has to do it. It has to happen. No matter what, anytime that you have, whether it's nonprofits, public-private partnerships that go on for too long, they always descend into corruption. It's just the way that it is. everything has this, nothing is getting better. It's always getting worse. You'll have a couple years that I think people can really agree this was great. It was a great idea. But, once you get past around 20 years or so, especially of an organization, an NGO, a 527, you're going to start seeing corruption. The science quote research that hasn't been valid for a very long time. We all know this. So many of you guys who are watching, you guys do all of your own homework. You all know about Fauci from the 1980s. We have had plenty. Dr. Julie's
Dr.
last name,
Judy
Judy, Dr.
Mikovits.
Judy Mikovits, yeah. Dr. Judy Mikovits wrote all about this in her book regarding Fauci, and he literally was giving people AIDS, and they created that dis-ease, and they injected it into people, and then they did not allow for those who were infected with it to have proper care. They knew what to do to fight it, but this is what we're talking about. When corruption is allowed to continue on, and your taxpayer dollars are funding this corruption, there has to be a point where we say no. And the only people, by the way, who are screaming about Doge, about the government cuts, are one, those who are on welfare, and two, those who are on welfare, political welfare. These tenured professors, these heads of administrations and of organizations like these universities, I know that they're upset because, again, their milk cow is being cut off. They're not going to continue to have funds without having to prove and validate their existence. That's what's happening. Is what's going to continue to happen. I did want to ask you about this whole idea. People are getting frustrated. The Trump administration's been in for 4 months, and people are getting frustrated because, as we know, I mean, there is, the books have been written, the case has been put together against Anthony Fauci, and yet he's still running loose.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I would just say that unless these people are held to account and punished for their actions, they're going to keep doing it. I mean, how do you take on a bully? The more that you become a victim, and the more that you just continue taking it, the more courage you're giving that bully. When finally, once you stand up and you punch the bully in the nose, he cries like a baby and runs off with his tail tucked between his legs. If we don't hold these people to account, they're going to do it again. And here we have this talking head that got paid millions and millions of dollars to perpetrate the worst crime possibly in the history of the world on the people of the world. He's still talking, and he's still saying the same thing he has been saying for years and years. There's going to be a respiratory virus. There's going to be something else that comes up. How do these people know that? He's still talking about the debunked theory of the bat. And he's still saying that the bat is going to pass on this disease to other animals, which will then pass it on to other people. So I'm frustrated too. Now, I know that there's not a magic button that this administration can push that just holds everyone accountable and puts everybody in prison. I know that. I understand it. I understand there's a process, that there's due process. I get that. But we don't, I feel like we're being distracted by things that are not why we put these people into office. And so one of the biggest reasons why these people are in office now is to hold people like we just saw, Dr. Fauci, accountable for what they've done and what they continue to do. And he's at it again. And the last thing we want is to become friends with these people and to just let bygones be bygones. It does not work that way. People need to be in handcuffs and they need to go to jail, period. That's what has to happen.
Well, they're feeling the pressure. Dan Bongino, of course, has come out with several comments. I mean, it's very evident they're feeling the pressure. And I also think it's important for people to remember all the good people are not in place yet. They are just not. There's still been a federal hiring freeze. Please keep that in mind. So there was not a massive hiring of all the right people that should be in the middle management and should be supporting the new cabinet members and the new administration. It is still in play. And so it's impossible. You guys have seen the undercover videos from James O'Keefe. You've seen these lower level and sometimes upper level who are completely supportive of the communist agenda. They're completely supportive of wokeism. They're completely supportive of protecting big government at all costs. That is their religion, it's their cult, and they are going to continue to protect that. Dan Bongino put out this statement regarding the appointment of Steve Jensen, the assistant to the FBI director, Kash Patel. Steve Jensen led the investigations on all the people across the country for January 6th, as well as parents who were, causing grief for school board members. And because of that, the mainstream conservative movement is not happy about this selection of Scott Jensen. But I will tell you this, he's the only guy that knows where all the bodies are buried, because he was literally right there conducting all the calls, overseeing all the investigations. This guy absolutely does know everything that went on and who all the players were. So I don't fully understand it, but Dan Bongino did release this statement. In conclusion, he says, I realize asking you to, quote, trust me is a waste of time. Watch what happens. Continue to demand results. Be cautious of narrative traps. And I will explain that in just a second. Let me put the puzzle pieces together, and what we're doing will make sense. I see you and hear you and your feedback. Thanks for your time. Definitely not telling people to stop yelling. In fact, we need to continue saying we want justice now. We demand justice now. But here's the reality that you and I were talking about. A lot of these people who are on social media, who are ripping Kash Patel, and in my opinion, I'm like, good grief, if there's anybody who's earned the right to have a moment, it's Kash Patel, okay? Ripping him. They have direct access to him and his people, and they're not doing it. They're not calling. They're not asking what's going on. They're just going straight to social media and starting a war, and they're starting an outrage circus, and they're acting all, vitriol. And so me, with my very limited access, we reached out to a couple people, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, okay, so this is what's going on. I'm like, how easy was that? How easy was that?
The bigger platforms should be reaching out. And I think that, like you said, this is probably the most transparent administration we've ever seen, and accessible, because a lot of people like Dan Bongino were social media influencers.
Yeah.
That these are the types of people that are getting put there, already have the contacts, and they talk to the other influencers and things like that. So
Yep.
I think you're right. I think before just taking our rage out on social media, we should probably reach out. But on the other hand, I want to play devil's advocate, because even what Dan Bongino said, demand accountability. We are going to demand that this administration do what we elected them to do. And we are going to show anger, because we don't have the direct access. We don't know all the inside information. All we see is that this J6 advocate putting people in prison for walking around at the Capitol is put in this position of authority. That's what we see. I mean, they should expect and foresee that, man, this is going to enrage people, and maybe get ahead of it a little bit and give a good explanation of why they're doing what they're doing. That's just one thought. But I don't mind the outrage. I don't think we should just throw everything out. I do see some bigger influencers going, this is a complete disappointment. The whole thing's a fraud. They're throwing it all out. I'm like, hold on a second. We're not even 4 months into this thing. We've got to give a little bit of time. I would say within the first year, we better see major results. And I don't mean just arresting MS-3 gang members, which is great. Arrest them and deport them. That's what we should be doing. Why that's even an issue, why that's even big news, I have no idea, because that's what we should be doing. It doesn't matter what administration. We want to see the people inside who have been causing this, who have been laundering money, who were purposely lying. I don't care if it's media, if it's government, or media in line with government, which it was so many times, and government in line and making dirty deals with corporations. It needs to come out. It needs to be investigated. A lot of dirty people in government that we elected to be there made a lot of money during the COVID, the corona, like Fauci's talking. We could have another corona, which, if you look up corona, by the way, it's a cold. It's been around for 100 years. It's cold. Anyway, it has to be uncovered, and this administration has to do what we put them there to do. They can't just hang out and have tea parties and talk about how they got rid of MS-13. That's all I see, is them arresting another MS-13 gang member. I think that's great, but we demand more than that, way more. The biggest fraud and hoax was committed on the American people, and Trump still maintains that the 2020 election was stolen. where is the huge investigation and the a massive amount of resources that should go into completely uncovering what happened on that 2020 election? It should not, I mean, not one stone should be left unturned regarding the election fraud, because if we don't fix, as you know better than anybody, if we don't fix our election system, we're going to go down this, we're going to be there another 2 years, another 4 years, we're going to be doing the same thing. So a massive change, and the people need to demand account and demand responsibility by this administration. But also, I think it's too early to just throw the whole thing under the bus and say, oh, it's all, because there's a ton of good things going on. But there's massive amount of puzzle pieces that need to be moved around here, and they're still, like you said, trying to get people in the right positions. And I think they're probably having a hard time finding people they can trust. And who knows who they can trust in a huge organization like the FBI. It's hard. That's a big job. But they signed up for it. They got to do it.
They did. They did. But it does bring to light another question, too, that we do need to address, unfortunately, because we are going to hold everybody accountable, because all of these people who became the new cabinet members under President Trump said that they wanted transparent government. They wanted to fix the corruption, and they were going to do it no matter what. And one person that everybody really relied on and is relying on, and we are reaching out to them, is Robert Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Maha. And what can I say? I want to share this first before you share with our listeners the unfortunate, redirection of the Maha leader. So let's take a listen to what he was saying versus what he's now saying.
If your kids were young now, would you give them the measles, the mumps vaccine?
No. I got measles, mumps when I was a kid. It was
lots of people die from them. Used to die from those diseases.
Well, you know what? They died in the 1900s or early 1900s. There were about 10,000 Americans a year who died. In 1964, there was about 300 or 400 who died, and they were almost all severely malnourished kids, mainly from the Mississippi Delta. This was before the poverty program, so there was a lot of starving children in our country. It's very, very hard to kill a healthy child with any infectious disease, but particularly with measles. And the World Health Organization now says vitamin A is an absolute cure for measles, which we didn't know about back then. Back then, we were treated with chicken soup, and it was, a week at home watching Leave It to Beaver, and every kid caught it. Every single kid got it. And I had 11 brothers and sisters, and we all got it, and we were all fine. And there are lots and lots of studies out there now that show that kids who get measles as a child are much healthier when they grow up, that they're much more resistant to cancers, to atopic diseases, to allergies, and to heart disease. Nobody died in Samoa from measles. They were dying from a bad vaccine.
Yep.
Real quick, and that's a whole nother story. We'll finish up on that. But Kim,
there's a lot there.
Let's talk.
Can I jump on that for just a second?
Please, yeah.
That was 6 months ago. Secretary Kennedy, 6 months ago, you said that you would never give your kids the MMR vaccine, and that an absolute cure is vitamin A. 6 months ago. And that's why you got into this position. Because the American people, and especially the moms that have gone down this health path, especially the moms whose so many children have been injured by the MMR and all the other quacks, the quackscenes out there, 6 months ago. And now you're posting that the number one thing that people can do to protect themselves from the scary measles is get the MMR vaccine. Sherronna, it's hard to make an excuse for this one. We're making excuses for other things, and we're giving people time and all that stuff. And I love what RFK stands for. I love his mission, what he's done through the children's health defense.com and all the research on, he was really kind of the only main source you could go to over the last 20 or 30 years and find the research, the actual data. And it's amazing. I have ultimate respect for what he's done. But I'm telling you right now, and this is my opinion, this actually is an opinion. This is fact. He is compromised, and we all know the story that came out. And I think someone's whispering in his ear saying, you need to say this. It's not him saying, it's not him sending out a message saying everybody needs to get the MMR vaccine, and this is the most effective way to deal with measles. He just said, and we all know, measles is like chickenpox. Everybody gets it. Everybody used to get it. It wasn't a problem until the media made it a problem, and until this psychological operation that's been conducted on the people made it this scary disease.
Yeah, for sure. And literally using Hollywood and flagging it in shows, NSA, just retarded. Dr. Thorpe posted this up just a couple of hours ago. If you're not following James Thorpe, you should be. This graph is demonstrating what the CDC, this is CDC information on the impact of measles versus the MMR. And this is devastating. Blue is the measles deaths, and red is the measles vaccine, the MMR. You can't just get a measles shot. You got to get measles, mumps, and rubella, all three together. And this is the actual deaths from the vaccine. Okay. So what on earth? If the CDC, if Kennedy is not going to be a voice of truth, if this is really what he's going to do, and I will pull up his tweet here in just a minute. If what he's going to do is kowtow to the pharmaceutical industry that he promised he wouldn't, I mean, you guys, what he's saying is, if he's going to recommend the measles, mumps, and rubella shot, he's saying your child is more likely to die from the MMR, but I'm going to recommend it anyway.
And that's what I mean. It's like he was RFK Jr. before, and now he's Secretary Kennedy now. It's like there's two different people. It was so surprising. And again, we're always trying to play devil's advocate, trying to figure out, okay, maybe we give them some space. Are they playing, the 5D chess and all that stuff? I think Trump plays that game probably better than anybody. Yeah. I don't see RFK playing. I see him I'm just going to say it, just spouting false information, going along with the fear scam to try to get people to give their kids this a very dangerous shot, which, by the way, you can't get a single shot anymore. They're all cocktails. You don't know what you're getting. They'll say, oh, this is for measles. Yeah. It could be, there's all kinds of, we've talked about this before, the aluminum, the mercury, the E. coli, the formaldehyde, the cow's blood, the monkey kidney cells, the aborted fetal tissue. What are the other adjuvants they're using? What are the ingredients in these things? And that's what's really scary. But here's the thing with the measles one. It's been around forever. Our grandparents all had it, or most of our parents all had it. It really, and he said 6 months ago that it actually strengthens your immune system. It makes you healthier to get it and to get over it, which is what 99.9% of people do. I'm baffled by this one. I'm also baffled by his comments, his continued comments about Israel being, or anti-Semitism being one of the greatest health threats that we're facing right now. It's strange. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't sound like RFK 6 months ago or even 3 months ago. And it's like, is he covering himself somehow? And does somebody have a stronghold on him? And I just feel like, I hope if enough of us come out and say, listen, we got your back. Like, we do care about morality, and you shouldn't have gotten yourself into these compromising situations with being, not being, with the infidelity and things like that. But the main thing that we hired you to do, and you've been hired to do, is to take down pharma and to break up the CDC and to take it down and to get this crap out of our food, to help the moms who have been injured, to help the kids who have been injured and have died from not just the quacks and the quaxines and all that, but the food and the water and the fluoride. And like, let's get to work.
Well, so I do want to say something is going on, because after listing all that, and I'm going to show the tweet from Kennedy in just a moment, but the FDA's top vaccine regulator has just resigned. He's out. He just resigned, and they are posting up all of the MMR injury reports on the CDC site, apparently, the FDA site, apparently right now. So there may be something more going on. It may be that Secretary Kennedy needs to hear from the people that say, we don't give two flying flips about any blackmail crap they have on you. Do what the people supported you to do. I will show the tweet just because it's important for people to see he did actually tweet it out. I don't know what to make of it. Like you've been saying, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know, but also just remember too on March 14th that he did ban all of the chemical use, toxic chemicals that we knew are toxic chemicals. He did ban those from being used in the food anymore. That's going to go into effect in 2026. And actually, I'm not seeing the tweet anymore. I don't know if he took it down. It's not here. So it may
Well,
have
and
been taken down.
I think what we're expecting, and I just kind of speak in a generality here really quick, is we expected in this administration, no holes barred,
Mm-hmm.
take down the system, like
Well,
work for the people. And
mhm.
so when things like that happen, people should rightly be, I think, outraged. Not because we don't
Yeah.
like RFK or because we don't believe in him, because we do believe in him. And we just want him to follow through with the promises that he's promised to keep.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to find out. Lee Zeldin, of course, is on it with the Environmental Protection Agency. And again, the EPA, just so everybody understands, middle management has not been dissolved yet. That's one of the biggest complaints we're hearing right now. They're not able to hire the people they need to hire in order to push things through faster. Again, I go back to James O'Keefe and his undercover videos. You're seeing those videos and you know that these squirrels are in the system and they are literally telling other people not to do what these cabinet members are saying to do. They're literally telling them, pretend like you're doing stuff, just do a lot of busy work and never actually do it. So, I mean, we have to continue to be loud and we have to continue to be vocal. But I'm very curious now that I know that the head of the FDA vaccine portion of the FDA has just resigned. I'm very curious what that's about. And yes, the studies that they have done that have demonstrated that MMR is toxic, it's poison, it kills everything you put it into eventually, or causes horrendous nervous system disaster. You're going to find it. And remember that Nicole Shanahan, who was RFK's vice president choice, her own daughter was injured by the MMR. I was there for that, her giving that public testimony at Tucker Carlson's tour. Her own daughter was injured. She lost her child, essentially. And so, her daughter is alive now and they're doing all kinds of things to try to bring her back. But I'm just saying, there's no way that he's going to, there has to be more to this. So let's stay on this story. But again, you're right. It's the same system of blackmail, bribery, whatever it is. And all of the American people just need to say, we don't care. We hired you for a job, get it done. And we'll deal with your nonsense later. But I truly, as a Kennedy, I just want to put this out there. Like, I don't think anybody was expecting morality there in that sense. And I hate to be the one to say that, and I'm very sorry. I wish everybody checked every box that we have. I wish they could be pure from the top down, and it just doesn't work that way in this particular world that they are all in. It's a very
And it should.
world.
It should work that way, and
We're
we
not
should.
in heaven yet.
And
I don't
I'm
know.
going to say we should expect it.
Yeah.
And why should we expect it? For this very reason, because it trickles into people's policy.
Yes.
It trickles into their convictions, because all of a sudden they've got, people who know things about them in high
Yep.
places, people trying to expose them for their
Or low.
infidelities in the past.
Mhm.
And they're also beholden to big donors and all this kind of stuff. And that's why, I'll just say again, that's why that the Trump appeal is so strong, because he at least appears to be independent, doesn't care about who owes who money, or how he's going to get more money. I mean, I'm sure he does, but as far as his politics and all that, it doesn't impact him, because he's independently wealthy and all those things. And also, when we found out about Trump's infidelities, I don't know, infidelities, when when they were after him in his first election, he
Mhm.
just came out and was like, yeah, I said stupid things. It was stupid. Remember
Yeah.
when he talked about, they had recording of him talking, about
Oh yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, he just addressed it and he moved on. He didn't try to hide it and all this stuff. And I think that RFK, I mean, I don't know who's got what on who, but whatever it is, he's just come out and be like, yep, I did that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have, but I'm moving on. I'm going to go do what we promised the American people we would do,
Yeah.
instead of playing this game. Ugh, it feels like a game.
Yeah, well, politically, I would say the best solution, honestly, is to say nothing and put your head down and actually do what
go to work.
the
Yep.
American people
Yep.
told you to do, because we didn't hire you for your marital, what's the word, where you're faithful.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word, but here's the thing. We have not done one single commercial to thank our sponsor for the America's Mom Show today. So we do need to do that. And then we have one last little bit we're going to share with you guys. But I do want to take a moment and acknowledge our incredible sponsor, our American manufacturer that we stand by here on America's Mom. We have been with them now for 2.5 years. This is your conservative Amazon. You're going to go to shopwithpatriots.com and go check it out today. You're going to sign up for information. It's a special club. And what you get to do there, well, you get to shop for your everyday use items, by the way, that have no endocrine disruptors, not going to mess with your hormones and, deplete your testosterone, men, or mess with your estrogen, ladies. You're going to find everything from amazing perfumes and colognes, underarm deodorant and antiperspirant, toothpaste that has fluoride or not. You have lots and lots and lots of choices and options on your everyday use items. This is one I cannot go without. And I do want to talk about this for just a second. I do all of my supplementation through this company now. It took me a year to jump on board because I am, when I find what I like, I'm just not going to switch. So it took me a year. And finally, Neil, the mister, was like, you need to try it. You need to try their supplements. Just try it for a month. If you don't like it or whatever, go back. It wasn't even 36 hours in. And I was like, wow, like I seriously feel great. I'm not dragging at 3 p.m. I feel like I don't have brain fog. I had kind of dealt with that a little bit more, but still you get kind of these moments where you can't find your words, you can't get to where you need to go. And I had experienced a lot of that, especially with a lot of stress. So I love this. This is actually the essential pack for women, the Vitality Pack. And we use a special product that allows for more than 90% absorption of your supplement. So you're not just peeing out your pennies, guys. The product is actually entering into your body and giving it exactly what it needs. You're going to go to shopwithpatriots.com, go check it out today. One last little thing I want to say about them. They have amazing snacks too. Amazing snacks. Check out the snacks. I'm always looking for great snacks that aren't going to mess things up and don't have a whole bunch of harsh chemicals and stuff like that in them just because they're, quote, healthy. Check out the snacks. They're amazing. I love the nut clusters and I absolutely love the conjugated linoleic acid bars. They burn fat while you eat them. They're amazing. So go check it out today. Shopwithpatriots.com, our American manufacturer where we support American workers, American production, and America first. Yes.
Let me
Please.
just say that this company was Make America Healthy Again before it was cool to make America healthy again. 40 years ago,
Yeah.
they started
40
down
years.
the path of trying to make America healthy again. And they did it with oils and with nature. They combine actual science, real science, who they employed doctors and scientists on hand in their manufacturing sites here in the US. They combine that with nature and they come up with some amazing products, plant-based, friendly on the environment. I mean, they were environmentally friendly before it was cool to be environmentally friendly. Like
Yeah.
all their packaging, ingredients, processing, manufacturing, everything is done right here. It goes straight from their manufacturing site to your doorstep. There's no distributors, no salesmen, all that kind of stuff. And when you sign up on shopwithpatriots.com, one of us will reach out to you personally and guide you through the process. It's really simple. So join
Super,
us, you
super
guys.
simple.
We got to it's all about detoxing, getting rid of the crap around us, all artificial stuff, and getting the real stuff in, on, and around our bodies. We can do it.
Yep. So we have a little announcement in the last couple of minutes here that we're going to be with you guys today. Little announcement about upcoming, someone's got to send me a message on how to make this not shut off. I don't understand. I've gone in
If
and turned
only
the
you had a
camera off.
husband that could figure it out. Dang.
Well, maybe you can ask him for me and see if he
Okay.
can figure out why that keeps shutting off. That is so annoying, by the way. Anyway, so what I was going to say is there's going to be a little production change, an addition actually, here on X America News. And the Mister is going to be launching his health show on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Incredibly amazing, talented people that are just on the forefront and the cutting edge of all things health, hormones, bizarre, crazy treatments. If you've heard of Dr. Group, you know what I'm talking about. All these things that we don't talk about publicly yet with you guys. The Mister is going to be launching his show very, very soon. Tuesdays and Thursdays. It'll be right here at 2:00 p.m. Eastern time on X America News on X and all of our platforms. You are going to want to start inundating him with all the questions and topics that you want him to cover. He has incredible access to amazing people, and we're going to be bringing that information directly to you. We have too many friends. We have too much family that is succumbing to medical advice that is causing their ill health, causing cancer, causing just disruption and disease in their body that they don't know how to deal with now because they've bought into the big pharma system. And it's time to do something about that in a really, really meaningful way. So I don't expect Neil to hold back. This will be a lot more detailed too, a lot more informative. If you've listened to kind of long style interviews, that's what Neil will be doing, because it's important to get the whole picture, not just little bite-sized things like what I do. So I want to encourage you guys to be marking your calendars. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I believe we'll probably be starting next week. Do we know?
We don't know yet, but soon. Yeah.
Very soon. So be sending him the topics and the questions you have, and expect for a full analysis. Because if you know anything about the Mister, he is very thorough. He is very detailed. I drive him crazy with this style of show that we do, because he really wants, that's his thing, is to get in and really, really dive deep. I just
you do drive me crazy. I'll agree with that.
I know.
And also, you guys, we're growing like crazy. We're getting we're in the process of getting. I mean, we'll see if we get our old stuff back, but it doesn't really matter, because we're growing. We're gonna regrow some of the accounts that we've lost. We're growing stronger on the X. On X and other platforms. It's going to happen. Yeah, it's happening. So we're really excited about it all. We just want to bring the best information we possibly can to everybody out there. So
one other thing, well, we're going to exit on this note, because this is going to be one of the subjects that you cover on your new show, Tuesdays and Thursdays, that will be airing on X America, 2 p.m. Eastern time, is so people have been like asking about my tooth, or rather the absence of that tooth. And I did have to have a tooth pulled a couple of weeks. Well, it's been, it's been like 4 weeks ago now, maybe a little bit longer. You have to wait before they can do anything about it for it to all heal. And it is a wild story, but I will just say it's one of the things that's going to be covered in Neil's show. The impact of your oral health, or what's going on with your teeth if you have bought into the dentistry system and you did the root canals and you did all that stuff because they told you that's what you needed. The impact of that is devastating to your health, and we're going to be talking about that. So in case you're wondering, yes, I do have a tooth that is excited to come back, but it's not there right now. And it is because I bought into the dentistry system, 20 years old, and thought I could believe what they were telling me. So we're going to be dealing and touching on that too, but there's a whole story with that might help you guys too, but we can't talk about it today because we are literally out of time. There's a lot going on in the world, guys. Keep your head up. Stay optimistic and positive. Amazing things are happening. And if you're ever not sure, just go to us.gov site. Go to the us.gov site. Go check it out and look at President Trump has signed over 100 executive orders that are meaningful, that are changing the trajectory of our country and restoring liberty everywhere. Go check it out. Even if some of these people that we trust and we want to believe in, they disappoint us. We, the American citizen, you're being given an opportunity to not disappoint yourself. So take the bull by the horn, be personally responsible, go get what it is that you want, that you think God has put you here for in this country, because it is undoubtedly a freer day right now than it was just a few months ago. Thank you guys for being with us today on America's Mom and the Mister. And remember, all that's necessary for evil to prevail is for good men and women like you to do absolutely nothing. We'll see you guys back here very soon.
It was hard times living in a system that was too scared to share the truth and make a difference. I was sitting in inhibition, then I saw the vision. I would multiply the love and subtract the division. And I'm not a mathematician, but it didn't add up. Praising politicians when they try to mask us. They say they're about the science, but they fake the data. They say they're gonna save us, but they really lab rat us. I don't really want to blindfold. See both sides or keep your eyes closed. Still accept the lies, well, sorry I don't. All that we deny will still be exposed. And I know these are hard times living. Most of us have reached our limit. The devil on attack with more clone gimmicks. There's no more time to be timid. Live this life with the light of the risen. 'Cause I don't gotta wait no more. Chasing after things that they just can't tell you. Tell me I don't wait no more. Seen it all change and I know that's for you. Tell me not to wait too long. I don't gotta wait when I make this for you. Tell them not to wait too long. You don't gotta wait when you let faith guide you. Wake up, feel it when you take off.